Hello there and welcome back. Today we talk about the Finegear Dust Collector. That it's the first multi-effect, or whatever you want to call it, because it's a very weird, interesting box from the Archive Effect series. So I have to thank them. They sent this unit to try, and I'm having a lot of fun because it's a very unique box. So before going on, as usual, few ways you can support the page. You can buy from the affiliate link, subscribe to the page, or become a Patreon member, where I go usually more in depth with the demoing and give some exclusive content. So let's get back to what's happened here. So we will test the dust collector with this nice combo, the Machinedrum and the Cyclone, that is a 303 how would you call it, a 303 clone, and then with the Lyra to do a more experimental setup, because this guy is pretty experimental, as you can imagine. So what is the dust collector? It's a collection of 3 different effects, 2 tape simulator and 2 LFO. The way these things work is through a patch bay on the back, where you can connect the in and outs of all the different modules and create your own chain of effects. So right now what's happening, I'm using the Elektron mono, because this is a mono instrument, mono multi-effect. So I'm going inside the tape 1, then from the tape 1 I'm going into the delay, then into the phaser, then Spring Reverb, and then in tape 2. So basically it's all a mono signal. The Elektron going out, I panned everything hard left, and the BassBot is going into the input on the Machinedrum. So as you can hear, there's some patch cable going on here, and because you have 2 LFO, each LFO has 3 out plus a modulation in, a sieve in, and you can send these guys to some of patch point here to have a additional way to modify the effects. So let's just unplug everything now, and I would go first in testing the different part of the dust collector, so you hear what they do. This is my clean sound without any kind of effect. So it goes from the Machinedrum into the dust collector pretty clean. So let's change it. Let's find something like that. So let's start from the phaser. Let's go. Oh, well, actually, let's start from the tape. So tape, there are 2, and they're exactly the same. They have 5 different circuits that they are made to emulate the tape compression and saturation. So it's not properly a distortion, even though in the 5th position it can get very crunchy. You have a bypass and a mount. It's a very subtle effect. That you can just feel it very high on when it's at the 5th position. Otherwise, it's just add more, I would say, warmness, especially on the low end. One thing that is important to understand on the dust collector that I found out, the gain staging can be not problematic, but you need to be careful, because some of this effect, especially the delay, tend to distort extremely fast. So one good idea is to get into the tape 1, where you have a way to deal with the output, go all over your effects, and then come back in tape 2, where you can push the distortion or whatever. very subtle. Here you start feeling the crunchiness, the distortion on the low end. I usually put it around 2 or 3 to just have this minimal adding warmth to the sound. So we leave this as is. Let's hear now one of my favorite effects on this box, that is the phaser. I don't own any phaser, so this one is pretty interesting. So you have feedback and depth to change the sound, but it can be modulated by manually as is, or using, if when it's manual you can use the CV in, or it can be modulated by LFO 1 or 2. So now if I change, LFO1 goes from 0.1 Hz to 7.5 Hz, and the LFO2 goes until 25 Hz, so it's faster, as you can hear. And they have different waveforms: square, triangle, or sine. Let's change. It's nice to work it with hands also to find some sweet spot, sounds like a sweeping filter. This is nice. Okay, from now we move to the other, kind of very like this sequence that I patterned displaying right now. Some Daft Punk, old school kind of vibe. Now we go into the delay. The delay is one of the crunchiest delay I've ever dealt with. All it's analog, of course. It's not tap tempo, so you have to find your sweet spot, things that I like, because it's always nice to have some sort of imperfection. It has this madness button that once pushed, it doesn't stay, it's just like a momentary switch that open the feedback and go in big distortion, so it could be interesting to play for some sort of transition. And as you can hear, it had a nice crunchy tone that is good. Let's put the phaser in. Nice. Okay, now we go in the third part, that is the Spring Reverb. Spring Reverb has a two control for in, so the level that goes into the spring, the level that comes out of the spring. You have the two CV, because as well later we do some modulation, we'll see. And then it have a tone, and it goes like brighter and darker. This is a classic sound of a Spring Reverb, no less, no more. I wish it has a more gain, because sometimes to really hear it, for example, I would like to be more present. So if you push the volume, it's good, but then you risk to have a lot of distortion incurring in the other effects. So it's all finding a balance. And again, now I have a certain chain, put it on the patch bay, but you can change it, or you can use actually each module by itself. Say you have 3 instruments, one can use the phaser, one can use the delay or the Spring Reverb, or whatever you want. So it's pretty versatile in that sense. One cool thing is like this thing sports the Acoutronics spring in the front, so you have the chance to play with it. You can keep it open. Let's turn on the other effect. And from here, we go back into the tape emulator again. And that's it. Now you create, we have all the effect chain going on. What you can do now, you can modulate, if you want, stuff and create weird things. So let's say we want to modulate the delay. Now that create weird stuff, let's use it as a square, and maybe we modulate with LFO2. With the CV you can decide how much. It's a converter basically. This of course goes more on the very experimental things, so it could be interesting to have some layer and texture. As you can hear, there's some fine level of noise going in the noise ground that I can hear, and this is part of these things. I feel that in the right hand, this is a very interesting box because it can be a crunchy, noisy, experimental thing. So for some kind of music, especially if you want to put your composition in some weird lo-fi kind of environment, I feel this is pretty cool. It's definitely not your bread and butter kind of effect, even though you can use again the module one by one. And now I will change the chain in the backs to see what's happened, but definitely it's not the classic reverb sound you expect from regular boxes. So I think it's aimed more to audience, to a musician that likes to have all analog effects in front of them and start messing with them. But I really enjoy this kind of stuff. I feel that if you do an experimental live set where this maybe is used in send and return. Oof. What was that? Exactly, that was my microphone. I forgot to remove the audio. Big mistake. Anyway, if you enjoy to have instrument like this and really mangle your sound and destroy your sound, I think this could be your best friend. Let's change the back, so I will try to show you how it works. So I'm turning down the volume. So here in the back you have all the parts. So let's do something different. So let's go into first. Let me remove all the patch cable. I'm using just the regular pedal board patch cable. So we go inside the phaser first. Then we go, let's do something weird. We go inside, so in the phaser, the out of the phaser goes inside, longer one. Let's go into the Spring Reverb. And then from the Spring Reverb, we go inside the delay. And then what we need, let's go direct from that, we go out. And let's hear what sound, how it sound now. Let's change some sound. Nice. So as you hear now, it's a different sounding thing, and it's pretty cool. I like how it sounds, and yeah, it's fun to have the chance to move. I wish it was easier to get to that rather than having to actually patch thing, but I feel this is a kind of interesting old school box, so I'm fine with that. It has one thing that I have to mention, that the phaser can be controlled by light, and I feel that's pretty cool because it has a photo sensor, so it reacts to light on how the phaser work, like the old school phaser. So it has this little panel, you can remove it and then you can place light there, so you can experiment with, you know, any kind of things and see what happens. I didn't do it yet because right now it's still a little inconvenient, but kinda cool. Let's modulate this. Interesting. Now we are heading the Spring Reverb, only modulated by that, and let's add a touch of delay. This is very nice. So if I turn everything off, very different sound. Interesting, if you have the Spring Reverb modulated, so another way you can play with this thing can create something like that. Keep modulating thing. And so it can be an interesting noise box. And this could be very useful for sound design by itself. Okay, I think that's about it. Let's now try the same setup. Oh, I like this kind of stuff. Yeah, let's try with the Lyra and see what happens. So now I connected the Lyra, and let's hear how it works with some more experimental instrument like this one. So now I have something in the buffer of the delay that goes in feedback. And it's modulated by the LFO, so it has this weird sound going on. It's useful in this case to create something very soundscape-ish. And I can always come back to my Lyra. So in this case is getting way more modulated, weird like modulated. Anyway. So this was the craziest way to end up this video. Let's go to the conclusion, what I think about the Dust Collector. So it's definitely something different. It's not your bread and butter kind of effect. Let's kill this feedback before we die. And I think in the right hand this can be magic. I feel it's more aimed to the creative, experimental musician around there, because you have basically a easel to create your effect chain. It has its patch bay there and there, so it gives you the possibility to move in the chain all of your modules and at the end find a new sound. What are the cons about the design of it? So except that I like the design, like it's big, so it needs quite a lot of space, but it's well built. It's I love the aesthetic, seems something out of Cold War. The problem might be that you always have to reach down here to create your connection. So I would have loved a smaller patch bay with just, you know, smaller cable in the front of it. That would have made things way more easier to patch on and off. And of course, also having probably this kind of jack, the smaller one, could have been great for the modular system. It's not bloody expensive, so it's also, for what it is and for all the effects that it offers, it could be a very interesting tool for your arsenal. I know that I will use it mostly in send and return to record all the kind of soundscape that I like for my music. My music is a lot of layers, so I always love to find tools that allows me to create a layering and make something simple more deep. And as you can see, the graphic, there's a lot of layer here. I'm curious why they did that, but still, it's all about layering. It's all about layering. That said, I hope you enjoy this presentation, and I'll see you next week.